So first off, if your numbers aren't right, you might think that you're buying something at like say $8 and you're selling it at 10. You're like, hey, I'm making $2. What, like, forget profit margin or percentage, right? But if your numbers are wrong, you with your processes and everything in place, it might actually cost you $11.50. So now you're selling at 10 and you're losing $1.50. That problem is not going to solve itself in bulk.
Do you want to earn more? Work less and enjoy what you do each day. It's no secret, it can be done. This podcast with Dr. T will not only educate and inspire you, it will also teach you how to do more and be more with the time you already have. Here is your host, Tyson Franklin.
Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of It's No Secret with Dr. T. Now, my guest today is Joe Pardo. Well, he's actually known as Super Joe, I think, and he is an author of 4 books. He's a speaker, coach. He basically is a bit of a business guru. He's based in Philadelphia, and one of his books is called Sales Won't Save Your Business. And it just intrigued me that sales won't save your business. So, Joe, how are you doing today?
I'm absolutely super. How about yourself, Super Tyson?
Super Tyson, I think I could live with that. Usually I just call myself Mr. Awesome, but we'll go with Super today.
Oh, I love that. So
where's the super part come in with Super Joe? How did that start?
So like back in like 2006 or something like that, I was feeling pretty down about myself, which is weird for me because usually I'm really I try to be positive. I got this, like, some people have the positive side and the negative side to themselves. Yeah. I have a positive side and a realist side. So it's like they're constantly in a battle. And at the time I was feeling pretty down on myself. And I came into work. So I used to work in my family's business, and one of my best friends, he's like a brother to me, was working with us at the time, and we shared an office, and he drew this stick figure. You actually see it on my website if you go to my story page. Yeah. And it said Super Joe underneath of it. And I didn't think anything about it. Like, oh, that's cool, funny, whatever. And then fast forward to like a decade later, and people, I kind of like threw it around to a couple of people. I forget how it came up with a couple of people, and then next thing I know, like, people were calling me Super Joe like all the time because, I grew up in a family business and did a bunch of stuff there, DJing, writing books, consulting, coaching, just really doing a lot of different things, and people just really resonate with all that. And so my mission is to help bring the super out of every person, because it's not just about me being awesome. Like, that's far from what it's about. It's about me helping you and everybody else be the best that they can be and being the super version of themselves.
That is a great story. I like that. So pretty much it's like it happens with a lot of people when you're at one of your sort of downest moments, or for you it was realist moments, that Yep. All of a sudden something sparked you, and that's now become part of your whole personal brand, isn't it, Super Joe?
Yeah. It was not. It was funny because I think like 4 years ago I registered the domain name because I couldn't get joepardo.com, and I wasn't even using that at the time, and I wasn't going to use it. But then, like, I don't know, a year or two into this journey that I started to take, that's when I was like, well, maybe I should just switch everything over to Super Joe Pardo and make it part of the brand. And that's where it took off. So yeah, it all started with a drawing of me with Super Joe flying through the clouds. I love life, and I really love helping people see the bright side of things. And one of my brothers, he was like, I need to show my appreciation for how much you lift me up. So
if people want to, normally we talk about this at the end. If people want to contact you, they can go and do this. But I think it's important to just bring it up a little bit earlier so people can actually go and check you out. So where can people find you right now if they wanted to go and search for you?
SuperJoePardo.com.
Oh, that's easy to remember, isn't it?
Yeah, you can also go to joepardo.com if you don't think I'm that super, and that's okay if you don't. I totally understand. There's a few people in this world that don't agree. But you can go to joepardo.com. It's PARDO, but if you go to TO, you can get there too, because that's branding for you.
Oh, so some people, because they spell it wrong.
Yep. So if they like PARTO, it's really DO, but either way, I got it all registered. It's all locked up.
Yeah, because and would people sometimes go Prado? Like Prado.
Prado or
Yeah.
Prado. No, I don't have that yet, but now you're making me feel like I should go and
Only reason
register
I mention it because I know there is a Joe Pardo.
I'm Googling.
You go and Google him and you find him, and if he hasn't got it, I would get it and get it switched over yours just in case. And the only reason I know that is because I accidentally spelt your name wrong when I was searching for something one day. So it's interesting that you talk about the different spelling things. I've got a friend called Nikki Jerd, and she says that a lot. She's a website development person. And she says that a lot when you're registering domain names. Sometimes there's slight variations where a mistake could be made. Go and own that real estate and link it all back to your main website.
Yep, and I have a lot of domain names. That's for sure.
And it's worth doing too.
Yeah, I mean, for the handful of bucks it'll cost. Yeah, joeprado.com is not available. Let's see if Super Joe Pardo, it is available. So I guess I'm going to register Super Joe Pardo. Well, just in case.
If you get nothing more out of today's conversation, you got that.
I do. I'm actually opening up DreamHost to go register it now.
So you've got a business too. Is it 234 Solutions?
Yes, 234 Solutions.
What's that all about?
So 234 is the address that I grew up at. It's well, you're asking about the name or the like? What are you asking?
Yeah. What's the name about? And because I love stories behind names, and I think it gives more meaning to what the business gives it that little bit more of a personal touch, and then also what the business actually does. Because I read a quote. I went onto your website because I do some research, even though some people say I don't, but I do some research. And you had a little line in there that I just went, that is really cool, and it's something that people need to think about. And you wrote, you help people build their business for their lifestyle, not the other way around.
Yeah, because I mean, I grew up in a situation where that was not the case. It's so easy for businesses to like just engulf people's lives, right? Because businesses aren't people. And then, to me, that's why I think relationships are so important and key in building great businesses.
Yeah.
Because you realize that there's a human aspect to it, right? Once robots can start owning businesses, we're in trouble, because unless we program emotions and empathy into those robots, it's all going to be about the bottom line and how much money they can save. So when I work with somebody, I'm working with somebody to not only build a better relationship with their team, their offer, and their process, but with themselves, right? So like the first chapter in my brand new book, Sales Won't Save Your Business, it talks about empowering yourself before you can go and empower your team, and understanding yourself and understanding the self-awareness that it takes to say, hey, I know that like these are my tics, right? These are the things that are going to trigger me to be really angry. It's not just about being triggered on the internet and like, being a snowflake. It's about being triggered in the sense like, oh, this is frustrating to me, and recognizing that so you can start to make adjustments for it. Because what happens is, and you see it like, right, like you watch the TV shows, the bar rescues and the Shark Tanks and stuff, and that pressure of the debt and the business and that taking over your lifestyle, leeching from your life, is real. It's very real, and I've lived it, and I've experienced it not only from myself, but from my seeing my family and seeing some of my clients I've worked with, where once that snowball effect starts rolling, that snowball starts rolling downhill, it gets bigger and bigger, and it becomes like impossible for us to be able to grab hold of it and stop it, and then start to pull it apart. That's how hoarding happens.
Yeah.
We don't all wake up and like, man, I can't wait to fill my house with trash. It happens over time. But eventually it gets so out of control that we don't know how to stop it, and we don't know how to stop it by ourselves. And if things are going the wrong way with the business, you just start to shut down. It's terrible. So I think that really people need to, if you're fortunate enough to be starting your business right now, starting it in a way that you put your lifestyle first and you're building it for your lifestyle. If you're not there yet, or you're already starting, you've already had your business and you're already like, in full swing of like, my business is running me 24/7 because it never stops. Everybody wants to keep, interacting with your business. then you just need to start picking it apart piece by piece and peeling back the layers and solving those problems and getting back to the fact that, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we are professional problem solvers. Like that's the actual occupation of that's the thing that we need to put down when we think about ourselves. So when we get away from that, that's when those things we just go into like shutdown mode and things don't just take care of themselves. So that's why we need processes. And to answer your question earlier about 234 Solutions, so I grew up in the house that you're
like a good comedian, aren't you? A really good comedian can start a story, go off on a tangent, and then always come back to the original story that we're talking. So I'm glad you remembered to come back to that. That's great.
Thank you. Podcasting is the thing that I've been doing for a while, but and I'll be here all week. Thank you. So I grew up in this house, and the address is 234. And I'll say this about you like talking about marketing and stuff. One of the things that kept me from while I did start consulting from the time I left my family's business. In fact, the first gig I took I got paid in laundry detergent. That's a story that I can get to later. But I didn't have a name for my business. I didn't know what I wanted to call it, so I never went to my lawyer and was like, "Hey, let's put the LLC together." It took 3 years for me to finally come up with a name. And my dad the whole time's like, "Oh, we'll just name it like Joe Pardo LLC or something and be done with it." And I was like, "But I don't want to sell my name." My goal is to not only just have me consulting, it's to build that foundation up, but then have other people come on underneath the agency and eventually, sell it or at least have the ability to sell it and not lose my name. Clearly Super Joe Pardo is a thing that I'm not going to want to let go of anytime soon. Okay,
that makes sense, because I think a lot of business, especially when you're starting out as an entrepreneur, you've got your own business and your whole business is related to your own name. I think at a certain point you do need to probably break it away and come up with a business name or a trading name, something you can actually trade under.
Yeah, that's so that's the whole thing is growing up in this house and then buying it in 2009. I've only lived I moved here since I was 6. I lived 1 year away from this house, so it's really important to me, and everything about my life revolves around the fact that this house is a thing that I live in and own now, and my family was started here and everything. So it just made sense to hey, the 234, it matters to me at least, but it doesn't matter enough that I wouldn't sell the name if I needed to.
When you were talking before about how people give up their lifestyle for the business, is that where sometimes they think my lifestyle will be better if I can just sell more, and that's not the case?
So there is a couple of different things to go. So like the two basic things I always go with when people are like, "What do you mean sales won't save your business?" Like, you get more sales, you get more business, it's all good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So first off, if your numbers aren't right, you might think that you're buying something at say $8 and you're selling it at 10. You're like, "Hey, I'm making $2. What?" Forget profit margin, or percentage, right? But if your numbers are wrong, you with your processes and everything in place, it might actually cost you $11.50. So now you're selling at 10 and you're losing $1.50. That problem is not going to solve itself in bulk. It's not going to fix it. It's not going to solve itself. It's not like you're making 50 cents. It's like, okay, well, if we sell enough of them, we can get our price even lower and all that. But you don't even know because your numbers are wrong. The other way that sales won't save your business is if somebody comes to your business and they buy whatever, your service, your product, your whatever it is that you're offering, but they have a bad time, they're not going to come back. And right there creates a really big void where you got to constantly be going to fishing for new clients and new customers. So, and not only that, they probably are going to go to because I don't know about you guys in Australia, but we have our Facebook groups for our towns, and people on there are very adamant about what they like and don't like. And when they don't like something going on, they are very adamant, and it'll be 100 comments of people like, "Oh, I didn't know that happened to you." And next thing you know, people aren't going there.
So it's sort of broken down. So when you're talking about sales won't save your business, it's broken down into parts where it's just not it's the sales and it's the keeping your good customers or clients coming back. So there's a number of steps that you're basically looking at.
Yeah. Because if they have a bad time, they're going to tell two other people, at least three other people, right off the bat, versus like if they have a good time, they might tell one or two people, but over time they keep going back and hopefully they continue to spread, right? But if they're saying, hey, I had a crappy time there, you made the sale. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great job. They're probably not coming back, and they're probably going to tell two other people that they ain't going back there.
So with so your book, when you wrote the book, who were you writing it for? Were you writing it for someone whose business was in trouble, or someone who already had a business that was going pretty well, but this will make their business better, or is it really for both groups of people?
It can be for both. It really is for people that are in the trouble category, right? For people that don't really they don't understand like what's going wrong, because it's hard. Business is hard, right? If business was easy, everyone would do it. But
that's true.
But they don't, and there's a good reason for that, because it's not easy, right? From lead generation to actually making a sale, understanding how to go about making a sale, and feeling confident and comfortable in that sale. Because if you don't have sales, you don't have a business at that point. But taking that a step further, like, okay, now multiplying that with more clients and more team members, and then how to go about like plussing up your offer, to how do we optimize the process. So now it's not $8 for our cost. We actually were able to get it down to like $7.50, which is a huge decrease in cost, if you're selling enough to make it matter. So it's things like that, that if you're in trouble, it talks in depth about knowing your numbers, and not just even like the basic numbers that you should know, but generating new numbers, coming up with what I call like next gen numbers, where it's like they're specifically designed for your business to track those key performance indicators, some people call them, and figuring out like, okay, well, if it takes 20 steps to do this one task, how do I get it down to 10? Right? Because those 10 steps here, and if I'm doing it 100 times a day, that those little changes can make huge impacts.
So is it as in saving time or saving money?
So it can be in both, right? Because the amount of time, if you're saving time in that process, then you could get a higher production out of it. If we're talking about like a manufacturing or even just like making a sale, if your sales process requires you to take out the credit card in that old like ching like machine, right? Like that took like forever to make a sale. At that point, writing a check was faster. But even looking at like now we have all these chips in our credit cards, right? Yeah. So
or in your phone.
In the phone too. So like, how quick can you get those people out when they hit that? When they hit that card, the swipe used to be really quick, and then all of a sudden we went these chips, and it seemed like everybody's chip was just like, sometimes it would take like 30 seconds to go through it. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like you got a lot, especially you go to like the Wawa. I mean, you probably don't even know what a Wawa is. But,
I have no idea what a Wawa is.
It's like a 7-Eleven but they actually care.
Oh, okay.
So you go to the Wawa, like everybody's getting their coffee. There might be like 10, 15 people in line behind you. Like 5 seconds, 10 seconds versus like 30 seconds makes a huge difference when you're talking about now, like 10 people in line. It might not matter in like a small mom and pop shop where it's just like little transactions here and there throughout, well, maybe like bigger transactions throughout the day, bigger than like a cup of coffee. But it can add, those types of things can add up. So it's just working to identify where those shortcomings are in your process, in your business, looking at it through a fresh set of eyes. And I know you probably have the same show, the Undercover Boss show. Ever watch that?
Yeah, we do actually. Yeah, the Undercover Boss.
Yeah, I think I've seen like 1 or 2 episodes of the Australian version by chance.
Yeah, and it's usually someone that you have no idea who they are, but they're still really interesting stories. And when they actually get to see behind the scenes, and they're like, my God, this is how we do things, because they're so far away in sometimes like the ivory tower, being the CEO, they don't see what's happening in the warehouse.
Yeah, exactly. And growing up, my grandfather used to be like, oh, you got to know every aspect of your business. And so, like you know how to do it. You don't necessarily have to do it today or tomorrow, but like if somebody's not in, you got to be able to do it. But also so that that when somebody says, oh man, that took like, 5 hours to do. And you're like, dude, I did it in like 40 minutes. What kind of milk were you milking?
Yeah.
What kind of cow were you milking? You got to be able to know that kind of stuff. And not to say that every business owner doesn't know that. I mean, it depends on what level at scale we're talking here.
Yeah.
And what level of manager or business owner or CEO or what kind of level they're at. So at that point, you need something like an undercover boss to get in there and really understand the operation to that granular level, so you can find those imperfections. Of course, that's why people should maybe hire me to help them do that.
I know business owners, and what you said before about where you should know all the aspects of your business and how things run. I know a number of people in the health industry that they are so reliant on their practice manager, and if the practice manager ever left, their business would come to a standstill because they have no idea how to do anything in their business other than what it is that they're trained for. And then that practice manager can almost dictate to them and can be rude to them, can be rude to clients, and they're like, oh, I can't do anything because if they leave, I don't even know how to actually use the appointment diary. And I think that's dangerous.
Yeah, it is. And, so one of my missions with my, coaching business and everything is to create and save jobs, right? So I'm all for optimization and automation as much as possible. But I think that we should be utilizing it in a way that enables us to grow the business to be able to hire more people, right? Because like you can optimize the process, but like at a certain point, you still have to grow to get, with more people to be able to accommodate more clients and more customers. So for me, like that at that point, like if you feel like, oh, I'm working too much in my business rather than on my business, which it sounds like you were working really on your business, which is, big time, 2 thumbs up for that. Because too often it's like, well, I can't get away from doing the podiatry work because I'm, who else is going to do this? It's like, well, yeah, you have other people doing that.
Yeah. Well, I pretty much went for like most business owners where I sacrificed lifestyle. I worked 9 days a week. I don't know how I found the extra 2 days within 7, but I worked 9 days a week. Then eventually I became sane and just worked 7 days a week. Took it down to 5. When I took it down to 2, when I made that decision that I was going to take my business down to 2 days a week, that was the biggest boost I ever had for my business, was actually cutting back my contact hours with patients. And then when I cut it down to 0 days and I was purely behind the scenes, my business went through the roof.
Yeah, I mean, so at that point, you got to be able to hire more people though to fill in some of those roles, right? And that's the whole thing of the whole idea of building your business for your lifestyle, not your lifestyle for your business, because you have the opportunity to make more money and hiring people, right, to fill in those gaps, rather than saying, well, I could just do it all myself, and I'll work 9 days a week, and it's like, well, what if you get sick? And I've had that talk with some people. I'm like, what do you mean you come in and you work Mondays till Tuesday till 2 in the morning every Tuesday? I was like, you've never been sick on a Monday before? No, I just do it. I work my vacations around it. I don't take vacation until at least Tuesday afternoon, and then I come back to be back by Monday afternoon so that I can do all the tasks. And I'm like, I mean, you're not getting any younger, man. Like, how's this going to operate if you're not here? The whole business is going to come to a standstill because you're not there. When I was working in my family's business, we used to have a lot of talks about that. Like, what happens if it's like always like if you drop dead tomorrow or end up in the hospital or get hit by the bus? Like, how is this going to operate going into tomorrow? How are 150 other employees going to come in and still be able to operate if you're not here?
Yeah, that's good. And I've said that to people when I'll say, when was the last time you took a holiday? And they're like, oh, we haven't had a holiday in 5 years. I go, just go and take a week off. Oh, we can't afford to. I go, when you have the heart attack, you're going to have more than a week off. So,
well, unless you're my grandfather, he took 3 days off and came back. Jeez.
Yeah, but he's from Philly, isn't he? Isn't he from Philly?
Yeah, he was from Philly.
Isn't everyone in Philly, 10-year-old girls in Philly are tough as nails?
They are. I got cousins in Philly still. So look, you have to sacrifice money. Right, you have to sacrifice two things. There's time or money, right?
Yeah.
Or energy, which really falls under the time aspect. So you have to be willing to sacrifice some money. So it's like, okay, so maybe I'm not making as much money in the short term, but I'm employing somebody else. I'm taking the stress and the responsibility off of me. And I'm making it so that if I'm not here tomorrow, at least 80% of what I need to do will right in this second will get done by somebody else at some point. And then looking at it from, well, how do I dump it on someone else? And I always get the other aspect is the counter argument is like, well, you have to watch your payroll because your payroll percentage has to be a certain point or else it starts to overflow. And I get that, but sometimes what you need to be doing is looking at what are the people that are working for you actually doing. Yeah. So like one example is like, okay, so we have our company controller. Well, they're going to Sam's Club for like 3 hours a week because they got to go buy supplies for the office. Like, hold up.
Yeah.
How much are you paying that company controller to just get in a car and go sit at Sam's Club for 3 hours to go food shopping?
Yeah, where you can
maybe you take those 3 hours, you take a couple other hours from somebody else and a couple other hours of things that they're doing, and you get somebody part-time that's there 20 hours a week. You're not paying them insurance, at least off the bat, and you don't have to pay them a ton of money because they're part-time and maybe they're young, a little bit younger, and now all of a sudden you have your controller doing controller things, and you have your other people that are not running around feeling they're running around in circles doing other things that probably have very little to do with their actual job and what they're being paid, the money that they're paid to do.
And that's I remember someone saying once about sit down and look at all the activities, and have you got people in your business you're paying $100 an hour and then doing $10 an hour jobs, and they shouldn't be. They should be doing $100 an hour jobs, and you should be doing the $500 an hour jobs, not doing the $10 an hour job. So you help businesses sit down and look at all their processes and see who's doing what, and delegating things to the people that should be doing it, and making sure the people getting paid the top dollar are actually doing the top dollar jobs. Absolutely,
yeah. And like I said, at the end of the day, it helps create jobs. And then you can even look at it and be like, well, I thought we really needed an accountant full-time, but it turns out we really didn't. Or I thought we needed a human resources full-time, but it turns out we didn't. Now they're working 3 days a week instead of 5, and I'm able to save that payroll, which at a much higher rate, put it into somebody part-time, and maybe not have them do the human resource stuff, but have them do some of the other things that the human resource person was doing while they were here, filling in the time of the fact that they were here 5 days a week when they really didn't need to be.
Okay, so this advice though, is this part of the advice you give when you're doing coaching, or is this also in your book? You explain this sort of process?
Yeah, so I do explain that process in like 99% sure it's in the book. So don't take my word for it.
Don't take the author's word.
So I'm pretty sure that's in the book, and looking at like what each person's doing and all of that. But yeah, it is what I do with my clients, like looking at what their people are doing, how they could be doing it better. And the dreaded question that everybody hates, right? Because I know I'm like 98% sure this is in the book. That dreaded question of like, what is it that you do?
Yeah.
I always go back to the Office Space with the Bobs, and he's like, what is it that you do? And I forget what his name is, starts like freaking out that I do I do all kinds of things here. It's like, actually, like, write it down. And it's not to belittle people. It's not to have them justify their job. It's so that you can legitimately look at it and be like, okay, should I get somebody else? Because it looks like these 4 people are doing a little bit of things they shouldn't be doing, but they're doing it because we got to get it done, right? We're all trying to work. We're all trying to make the gears keep turning. We get an assistant, and we bring it down. Maybe one person does require an assistant because they're doing so much stuff. maybe you just need a general person to go and do all those things at once. It's not one person's assistant.
So some businesses don't have enough staff, and they've got the wrong people doing the wrong thing, and other people are thinking about wanting to bring other people on, but they're not sure what everybody's doing anyway. So when they bring that new person on, it's more money on the payroll, and it may have only need a part-time person, not a full-time person, and all those dollars add up in the end, or add to the bottom line of the profit of the business.
Yeah, you have to be willing to look at it. And I was just reminded of a specific example. I can't think. I had it. I should have wrote it down. I have a pen in my hand and I didn't write it down. The specific example where, that mentality. It was about the mentality of how I'm just trying to keep this running.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just trying to keep it's this big beast, and I'm just trying to keep it moving forward, chugging along here. My grandfather was great, always great for saying, you got to keep stroking. And it's true. But at the same time, like, if you're not willing to look at the business as a machine instead of as a person that you're like nurturing 24/7, then you're always going to be that person. And it's, if you're listening to this right now and you feel this way, I mean, whether read the book or give me, reach out or something, but even just for yourself to just take a step back and really look at everything, put everything on the table and put your ego aside, right? I'm always about how can we put the ego aside, because it shouldn't be about ego. It should be about what's right? Like that. There's a great quote from Steve Jobs. Who's like, hey, don't do what Walt Disney did, because everyone just sits around at Disney asking, what would Walt do? Well, when I die, don't ask what Steve would do. Ask what's right, because Steve ain't here,
Yeah, that makes sense. And I like what you said then about people's ego as well. I know a lot of people that own businesses that aren't doing that great, but they can't put their ego aside and actually ask for help.
I think one of the reasons, though, the ego gets in the way is we're supposed to be the biggest, fan in our own fan club.
Yeah.
And when you start looking at like, what kind of issues do I have? It can be tough. It's just like going to like a therapist, right? Like very few people want to go like, hey, you know what my therapist said this weekend?
Yeah.
He said that I am doing a great job. I do have one other point about utilizing your time.
Yeah.
You're utilizing your time wisely and your money wisely. When you think like, oh no, like, there's the money crunch of like having people come in and do these things for you. Sometimes there are things that you should consider doing yourself when you shouldn't have somebody else do it for you. In one case, like, so whenever it would snow, which it snows, not a ton here, but enough to be substantial, that we would go out and me and my dad would snow plow through the night. Like the whole night, the CEO and future CEO, COO of the company, like out there snowplowing. And I would always be like, why am I up? Why am I getting up at like 2 a.m, 3 a.m to go out, drive in a snowstorm like that I shouldn't be driving? Like there's it's an emergency and all. And I'm going to go and I'm going to plow. But, because plowing is expensive. Like, okay, I get that. But then I still have to go and do all my work later that day. I can't just be like, okay, great. I plowed from like, 1 a.m. to 10 a.m. I've been out there, in the parking lot and at the other parking lots, 10 hours. I'm ready to just go to sleep. No, I can't do that. I gotta go and do more work. So, there is a saying I always say is like, when the chips are down, you gotta be willing to swing the bat. But at the same time, I think it's really important that you're not swinging the bat every single day, right, in your business. And my point is that if you utilize your money as a tool rather than as the end all be all, that's where you're going to find that you'll be able to be like, hey, I need to figure out how I can get more profit margin out of this so that I can afford to bring on another person. so that I can afford the fact that health insurance in this country goes up 25% year over year over year. And I can afford the fact that I want to give my team raises regularly rather than waiting 5 years and then being like, well, what do you mean you want a raise? Like, man, it's been 5 years and I haven't gotten a single raise. Like, now I want a bigger raise because it's been 5 years, rather than like incremental ones that you're baking into the fact that you're growing the business.
Yeah, and some businesses would lose really good team members because they don't have good profit margins and they can't pay them. They can't give them that raise when they really, really deserve it. And then they wonder why that person is looking elsewhere. And they don't want to leave, but you're actually forcing their hand to leave because they can't see light at the end of the tunnel if you're not looking after your business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's what I mean by like, really knowing your numbers to the level of like, how do I get this growth to go up, this little line to go in the upward pointing position.
Yeah.
Just enough so that I can continue to foster the fact that my team needs raises. I might need to hire some more people in the interim. I might not be able to take the super big paycheck that I was taking before because now I need to take a little bit less so that I can have more time to do things. So I can have time to go on that boat or drive that car or live in my house or go on vacations or whatever. I mean, go on vacations at all, because God knows my family wasn't going on vacations much before I came along.
Do you think some people, though, it's more of a we talked about the ego, putting that aside to get help or realizing you've got a problem, but also where they make a certain amount of money and they're always comparing themselves to, we have a saying over here, don't compare yourself to the Joneses. I don't know if you have the same saying over there.
Yeah.
So, but they're comparing their friend that they went to school with who grew up in, they might be making $100,000 a year, but their friend is making 180. And then when they're talking, they're sort of going, I need to work harder because I need to make the same amount of money, but not realizing they're giving up lifestyle, they're giving up time with their family. Like I've got a 13-year-old daughter who'll be 14 this year, and I cannot believe how fast the past 14 years have gone, that the older I get, the more I appreciate every single day that I actually have with her and not having to be at work all the time.
Yeah, it is something that I have appreciated about my 2-year-old. I'm much like lower on that scale, on that sliding scale, but to be around all the time or as much as I possibly can is been great. I mean, I spent the first 6 months at home not doing much anything else but taking care of her. And then after that, I still spent like another 2 months. So like the first 8 months I was with her pretty much nonstop.
Yeah.
Versus now, like we had our son 3 months ago, and I'm not around as much as I was with Ava. So like it's just different. But I do appreciate it.
So Joe, I've really, really enjoyed this. This has been great. I've got one final question for you. And I did give you a slight warning before we started. Okay, it's Monday morning. Right, and where are you? Okay, you've gone down to Philly for a Philly steak and cheese sandwich at this local cafe. And it's in the evening, so because you were a bit hungry. And the person there's somebody else eating, and they went, "You're Super Joe. I've seen you on TV. I've listened to your podcast, heard you on Dr. T. You're amazing. I've got to go to work tomorrow morning. 8:30 tomorrow morning. What is the number one tip you would give me when I walk into work first thing that you think that every business owner, especially me, should do when I crack open that door and walk in? What's your advice?
What I'll tell you, Dr. T, is I want you to walk in, look around, see the sights, smell the smells, go and sit at your desk, take a deep breath, and then smile. Because even with all the headaches, the frustrations, the fact that you may or may not have built your business for your lifestyle, and you might even be in the somewhat delusional state of this is my lifestyle, my business is my life.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. You should have a life. And any owner that has gotten out of business, sold their business, will tell you to enjoy the time that you have.
Yeah.
Even my great grandfather told my dad that he wishes that he had retired like 40 years earlier. He was like in his 80s when he passed, because he had the money. He wasn't poor, and he should have, enjoyed his time more than he did. And my grandfather was pretty much the same way. Everyone's used to say, "Oh, he's going to die on that desk." Like I said, he had a heart attack 3 days later. He was back at work.
Yeah.
I want you to smile and appreciate what you've been able to accomplish so far, and just think about the fact that you still have today and tomorrow and the day after, to realize what it is that you're actually building this for. Why did you build this? Why did you get started? And what is it going to take for you to realize that you can make a change for the better, for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for your life? Because time is the only thing we don't get back, right? We can manipulate it by using money as a tool to get more time, but we can't rewind it. Your 14-year-old daughter is not going to be 13 tomorrow.
No.
She's not going to be 5 tomorrow, and it's important. Like, everyone wants to go about hustle, and again, when the chips are down, you need to be able to swing the bat. But I want you to just take a minute to appreciate what you have right now, right here, and imagine what it could be if you start today chipping away and building for yourself and for your life, instead of the machine that is a business, the machine that doesn't sleep, the machine that doesn't care, doesn't have empathy. We remember the little things that really make you happy. And yeah, business might be a big part of that, as I've learned with talking with lots and lots of business owners over the last 4 years. Really most of my life. But I think if you dig a little deeper and you scratch the surface and you maybe talk to somebody else about it, you might find that there's more to life than that machine.
That is one of the best answers I've had to that question, with a lot of feeling in it as well. Not just answering the question. I could actually, people can't see that we've got a video going, so we can see each other, but I could actually see it on your face that you actually believed everything you said then, which is great. You weren't just throwing out an answer. So I've got one last question for you before you go. And this is not.
If you got 10, it's cool, man.
No.
So it's all good. Super Dr. T.
Is
Dr. Super T.
Dr. Super T. You mentioned something about laundry detergent earlier on. What was that story about laundry detergent? Because if I listen back to this later and I had forgotten, I wrote that down when you said it. If I don't ask you about this laundry detergent, it's going to bug me for the rest of my life. What was the story behind the laundry detergent? This is now on a lighter note.
Yeah. So I left my family's business in April 2nd, 2014 was the last day I walked out. 1 month later, I was ready to launch my first podcast, and I did it. I actually started the launch from a plane.
Yeah.
It actually was. I was on the plane as soon as the plane landed. Registered the domain name, the Facebook page, and the Twitter handle. Dreamers Podcast, ready to go. It's no longer the Dreamers Podcast. It's the Business Podcast. 2 weeks later, I had the first episode out. Just about a month later from that, I got teamed up. My hairdresser was moving some product on the side for a local laundry detergent company. Yeah. Like they make all natural and all that stuff. So I went and met the person, and she was great, but she needed a lot of help. She needed website help. She needed marketing help. She needed direction. She needed to she needed some insight on where to take her business next and all that. And the only way I got paid for anything I did was getting paid in laundry detergent. We ended up having so much laundry detergent that it took about 2 years to finally run through all of it, and I gave away a lot of it.
Yeah.
Now some people would say, "Oh, it's a hilarious story." It is. But here's the thing. For me and the time in which I was doing it, and I didn't see it at the time. I didn't see it until much later. Well, I appreciated the opportunity to cut my teeth and prove that I knew something outside of my family's business, because it bothered me when I realized it years later. It bothered me because it felt like I wasn't getting paid for my worth and what I was bringing to the table. Like just a few months earlier, I'm sitting at tables, dinner tables with like international CEOs of manufacturers of truck parts, and we're talking about operational things that like some of the the biggest things I got to do at the business. And here I am just a few months later, and I'm getting paid at laundry detergent, and it was really at the time it was fine, whatever. It was great. It's a funny story now, but like years later, I realized that I think that really hurt me more than it helped, because it made me devalue my resources and my ability.
Did it make you think that you were only worth laundry detergent and you weren't worth actual hard cash?
So at the time, no. At the time, I was like, oh, I'm doing what I want to do. I want to help business owners and all that. And then later on, that's when I kind of was sour about it. And now I kind of laugh about it because things have come. It's been 4 years later, and
you had really clean clothes anyway. So your clothes would have been super clean because you would have washed them probably twice because you had unlimited amount of laundry detergent. So, so it wasn't all bad, but I do know exactly what you mean when you move from one thing into like consulting sort of role, and people who know you for what the role was beforehand, not the role that you do now. So, like I said before earlier on, I'd been a podiatrist for 30 years. So there's a lot of people that see me that, but Tyson's a podiatrist. What would he know about business? And when you sort of get those things, when people say that, it hurts. It sort of cuts pretty deep, and you go, I know as much about business as the next person. In fact, I've had successful businesses, and I know I can help other people. So that's sort of what you mean about getting paid in laundry detergent. I've had people pay me in bottles of rum, which is not that bad, but I'd rather rum than laundry detergent.
Hey, look, I was laundry detergent I didn't have to buy later on. So I was saving money in one way or another, but like how many years of, I can't eat laundry detergent. I can't pay my house bill, mortgage with laundry detergent. So I could have went and sold it and made some money off, but like
you put it in white bags and sell it on the street. That wouldn't have gone down too well. So Joe, Super not. Joe, I want to thank you for being on It's No Secret with Dr. T. I've really enjoyed this. I've learnt heaps. I reckon anyone that's listened to this, and this is one of the sayings I say a lot, if you did not get something from this podcast today, you need to give yourself an uppercut, which would be a Philadelphian uppercut, and that one will damn well hurt because it's coming all the way from Rocky. But just a reminder, if you want to track Super Joe down, look for superjoepardo.com. I assume it's 234solutions.com as well, which will link back.
All spelled out. If it goes to the same, it goes back to the
all
same
goes
place.
back
so
to you.
The 234 all spelled out solutions.
You've also got an awesome podcast, the Business Podcast with Super Joe Pardo, which is pretty cool. And the book that we've sort of been talking about today is called Sales Won't Save Your Business. So I would assume that's available on Amazon and every other place that you can find books online. Joe, thank you for being on my podcast. This is great.
Thank you so much for having me, Super T. And, I always love the Australian people. I have plenty of friends down there, and it's been awesome. And look forward to having you on my show as well.
That's right. And I can't wait to actually be on your show as well, Joe. And plus, I will see you in July at Podcast Movement in Philadelphia.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
So there you have it. Sales won't save your business. And I think there's 3 points that I just wanted to touch on again. Number one was you need to know your numbers. You need to know when you're actually making a sale, are you making a profit, and exactly how much profit are you making? Because there's no point making more sales if you're losing money every single time. The second point that I really liked what Joe touched on was how small changes can make a big difference to your business. And also you need to think of all the processes that are currently going on in your business, and can you save small amounts of time through those processes or systems. Therefore, getting the flow of people through your business faster means you can actually see more people in the same given period of time without actually sacrificing the service that you provide. And the third point that I thought was really worth mentioning again was every business person, when you get to a certain point in the business life cycle, you have a choice. You can either make more money or you can hire other people to do particular tasks and therefore have more time to yourself. And I think that is something that people don't think enough of. Think of your lifestyle. It's all about creating a business that supports the lifestyle that you want to lead. So I have two guests next week joining me from a business called MassBlock, Ben August and Jamie Baker. And we're talking about cryptocurrencies. Yes, we've all heard about it online, about cryptocurrencies, and you hear about people making fortunes. And sometimes you hear stories of people losing money, but usually it's all about the making of the money. Now, I'll be perfectly honest. I know absolutely nothing about cryptocurrencies, but I do now. So I should go back a step. Prior to talking to Ben and Jamie, I knew nothing about cryptocurrencies. But after having an hour conversation with them, I know so much more now than I did beforehand. And I think you're going to absolutely love it. Here's a little snippet of what's coming up next week.
With cryptocurrency, there's over 240 different exchanges. They all have different assets on them. The average trader in the space has accounts with 6 of these exchanges. And so that's 6 accounts, 6 sets of passwords, 6 different apps, 6 different logins that you're managing just to manage your day-to-day operations to trade in this space. So what we're doing to tackle that is building an app that connects to cryptocurrency exchanges. So you can plug in your 6 different accounts and you can manage your account across all of those accounts from the one app, from the one place. So it's about fixing the problems for people in this space who are struggling with managing a portfolio of digital assets.
Believe me when I tell you, just knowing a little bit more about what cryptocurrencies are, just puts your mind at ease about all this new technology that is happening, that in the future, it is going to be a reality. Most of us are going to be trading with some form of cryptocurrency. It's not if it happens, it's when it happens. So pretty much that brings this episode to an end. And like I always say, if you've enjoyed this episode, please tell other people and share the love. And if you happen to be on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform and you get the urge to give this show a review, please get on there and do it. I'd really appreciate it. So that's it from me. Look after yourself, look after your family, and I will talk to you again next week. Okay, bye for now.